Well, joining us today on this special broadcast is Sushmita Dev, TMC leader and member of parliament, one of the prominent leaders from my home state of Assam, actually, who recently shifted loyalties from Congress to the Trinamool Congress after holding several important positions in the Congress party, including that of the All India Mahila Congress president. Sushmita Dev, very good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on Mirror Now.
It's a pleasure.
So let's begin. I want to ask you first, of course, with the parliament session that has just concluded. You know, several contentious bills have been passed, and I will go into those in a bit. Of course, they've been passed amidst stiff resistance from the opposition parties, like the one that you work for right now. But first, I want to ask you on the issue of the suspension of the members of parliament. The MP suspension issue, you've of course spoken about it. You're saying this has become a new normal under a dictatorship. What has made you make that statement?
You see, by suspending the 12 members from the Rajya Sabha, what really stands out and is unethical is they took action apparently on what happened in the last session. Now, this is quite unprecedented. And apart from that, they just refuse to relent. You see, what happens in a democracy is everybody has the right to speak up in parliament. And the reason these members of parliament disrupted the house, which they did, I'm not denying it, is because the government was not allowing a debate on Pegasus. You see, the parliament is a platform for debate, so the entire nation knows what is it different parties think on issues. And if this government is only going to debate on what they want to, obviously it irks the members of parliament. They become ornamental in the house. People start questioning them that why didn't you debate it? Where is the opposition? So that's the background. By suspending 12 members of parliament, I mean, what is left in Rajya Sabha? And apart from that, the parliamentarians who were inside the Rajya Sabha also decided not to participate because of the harshness of the order. So this session, is the most undemocratic session in the history of, I think, the Indian parliamentary system. And how can you ask the opposition to apologize for what? A Prime Minister passes 3 farm laws and has to take it back. You know, that is what we should be focusing on and debating on. They didn't even allow that debate.
Yes, so, you know, those are very strong words. You're saying this is the most undemocratic session. The figures indicate of late that have been released that the Lok Sabha was 82% productive. We leave it aside, but on the point of dictatorship, you know, the same accusation is leveled against your party in West Bengal. For instance, in the Tripura violence case, the Supreme Court observed that, you know, that the shoe is now on the other foot. Now, you were complaining of the inaction of the state, the dictatorial attitude of the state, you know, in the case of Tripura. And even in your recently concluded municipal elections, the same kind of rhetoric is used against your party as well.
You see, all the mudslinging aside, this is what I think. You cannot get a massive victory like 134 out of 144 seats and say that it's because of a dictatorship. Governance must play some role in it. But you see, now compare it to Tripura. Tripura, our candidates were not allowed to even step out. Apart from that, whatever communal tensions were there, you know, 122 activists were booked under UAPA. 2 young journalists from a channel were arrested and put away in jail. I mean, how much more evidence do you want of dictatorship? If you're saying Mamata Banerjee, the Chief Minister of West Bengal, has come to power because of dictatorship, I do not agree. Look at any of our data. The data shows that despite the corona lockdown and the slow economy, West Bengal has done well. That can't be a result of dictatorship. And in these municipal elections, there were absolutely no violence. There may have been 1 or 2 odd incidents where workers have fought at their level, But I don't think there was any kind of violence. This is not a result of violence. This is a result of good governance.
Of course, the BJP would differ on this because they are even seeking a repoll. Now, of course, nothing to take away from the fact, Sushmita Dev, that this has been an impressive victory. It's a clean sweep in the Kolkata municipal elections. The Trinamool Congress on Tuesday registered a landslide victory, winning 134 of the 144 wards. However, the fact of the matter is that does that mean now that you would have similar prospects in, say, Goa or other states? In Goa, for instance, Arvind Kejriwal today saying that you don't even have 1% vote share and this is not a state for you to get into. What do you have to say in response?
You see, Arvind Kejriwal ji should look back at his own history before he comments on the future prospects of the Trinamool Congress. Where was Arvind Kejriwal? Nowhere. He went from 0 to 28 seats in his first assembly elections. So no one better than him should know that where there's a movement, where there's a leader, and where there's compassion for people, a party can go from 0 to 28. That's his own history. So someone like him questioning a party going to a state for the first time and trying to relegate it to nothingness doesn't suit Arvind Kejriwal, at least, because he went from 0 to 28 in Delhi in his first election. He's an example of how a party can do well starting from scratch. So really, yes. I mean, it's a contradiction in terms. That's what I think.
Okay, interesting response to Arvind Kejriwal taking a dig at the Trinamool Congress party on entering the fray in Goa. I want to ask you this, though, that several neutral observers, Sushmita Dev, say that all these expansion plans, the idea of spreading your tentacles to other states, is at the behest of the BJP to undercut the Congress. How do you respond to those kind of narratives that are floated?
That answer is in your question. Just 10 minutes back, you said the BJP is complaining that Mamta Didi is dictatorial and is, using violence in Bengal to crush them. So which narrative is true? Both yes. Can't be true, for sure. Anyway, coming to directly answering your question, you see, it is very simple. In Bengal, you know what is the status of the Congress and the CPM, right? And the left. Yes. They've contested elections. Now, should we say that CPM and Congress, who is in a dismal position, giving candidates was trying to help the BJP in West Bengal? Should we say the fact that Congress is in such a bad position in Odisha, by giving candidates their, they are helping the BJP? In UP, Priyanka ji is working so hard. But I don't know, most people are saying Congress is not going to do well. So are you cutting the votes of Samajwadi? So, I mean, listen, Mamata Banerjee has proved her mettle as a third-time chief minister, as a formidable force against the BJP, and the entire world was watching the West Bengal assembly elections. And she came through. So she's the kind of leadership and the alternative this country needs. And you see, Congress is in a direct fight with the BJP with some 190 and 200 odd seats. And their winnability is reducing every 5 years. So now the question is, does another party which has the capacity, which has a leader to expand, keep waiting for another party to survive? Or should they start the groundwork now? That's the only question. And you and I both know that every popularity chart is showing that Modi ji's popularity is going down. And there's a huge section of people who want to change. So
okay, so it's true then. It's true that there are major expansionist plans,
That's
isn't
what I think.
You're saying that there's a deliberate attempt, there's this conscious decision to expand. And why not? I mean, in politics, it's only fair. You feel that you should venture into new territory, and which is why perhaps we noticed Mamata Banerjee was in Assam 2 days back. It's your home state. You've been an MP from Silchar for the longest time. It's my home state as well. So, but I want to ask you that is this again an attempt to target your home state, Assam, as well? Mamata Banerjee was there. She visited the Kamakhya temple. What are your plans? Because, and then I also want to ask you, are you going to be the new Himanta Biswa Sharma for the TMC to, get your footprint TMC's footprint in the Northeast?
You see, Didi came to Assam yesterday. It was purely a private visit. She went to seek the blessings of Ma Kamakhya. She's a staunch believer in Ma Kamakhya, and she told me during her visit that she has been thinking of coming to do darshan right since the assembly election. So it was a purely private visit. But yes, Assam, there's an opportunity there. You are from Assam. You know it's totally one-sided. It's a one-man show. There's absolutely no opposition. Congress is nowhere on the ground. And it's absolutely impossible for us to give a walkover to the BJP. And I don't intend to compare myself with Dr. Hemanta Biswa Sharma, who's the Chief Minister of Assam, because that's, strictly speaking, that's not the kind of politics I want to do.
No, I was saying,
yes,
will you be the architect for the TMC just like he was for the BJP to expand into the Northeast?
See, I'll tell you, there's a big difference. I'll tell you what the difference is. RSS and BJP knew nothing about the Northeast. You come from Assam. You know, they had no existence there. So they used Dr. Hemanta Biswa Sharma, and Hemanta Biswa Sharma used the Northeast to prove his mettle to Amit Shah to become the Chief Minister. That's what I think. Mamata Banerjee, remember, moved away as a Youth Congress activist in 1997. She understands Northeast. She's worked there with my father in Tripura. She has worked on her own in those northeastern states. You think she doesn't know Mukul Sangma from before? Of course she does. You think she doesn't know the politicians of the Northeast? She does. So I'm sure that she's very capable of handling Northeast herself. But yes, she expects me to play a significant role in Tripura and Assam, which I will. And wherever she seeks any kind of inputs from me, I'm happy to give it. But I don't think I'm going to be, like you said, so instrumental in it. She has a team and she's very, very well conversant with the Northeast, much more than many of the Congress leaders of the new generation are about Northeast.
So Northeast is very much on the agenda. It's very much on the anvil. It's after all 25 seats if you put all the states together. So it's a virgin territory for a party like TMC again. And like you said, if you are venturing into Goa, you might as well venture into Northeast. These are all new territories for your party. But I have to ask you this. For the longest time, you were a woman leader from my home state. You were an MP from Assam. Now, not only have you shifted loyalties to TMC, you have also shifted loyalties to West Bengal. You're now an MP in Rajya Sabha from West Bengal. So it's not just parties, you have changed loyalties of states as well?
That means Rahul Gandhi ji has shifted loyalty from Amethi to Wayanad. That means Venugopal has shifted his loyalty from Kerala to Rajasthan, and Manu Singhvi sitting in the Congress has shifted from Delhi to West Bengal. You see,
no, please answer my question. I'm asking you a question that you should answer for yourself. Just say, you could say whether you have or you haven't.
Yes, I take pride in the fact that I am the first person from the state of Assam and the entire Northeast who has gone as a member of parliament to the Rajya Sabha from the Trinamool Congress from West Bengal, and none other than my leader Mamata Banerjee has done it. She has given respect to Assam. She has given recognition to Northeast. Which other chief minister of a party has done that? Today, can you think of any chief minister in this country who has taken a person from a northeastern state and given them Rajya Sabha from their state? Mamata Banerjee has done it, and I'm extremely grateful to her, and so are my supporters. Now, coming from shifting loyalties, like you say, you see, my bastion is Assam, as you know. My father was a politician from there. I have done politics right from municipal elections from there, and I will not abandon Assam, and I will continue to serve my people. There's no doubt about that.
Right, good to hear that. So how has the TMC stint been for you since August last year? You were prominent in the Congress, you were the Mahila Congress chief, but here you have managed to re-enter Parliament as the Rajya Sabha MP. So in hindsight, would it be fair to say that this was a strategic move to retain your MP-ship in Parliament, since you, of course, lost the Lok Sabha elections from Silchar in the Lok Sabha elections last time?
You see, it's very simple. After what happened in the Assam Assembly elections of 2021, my perception of the politics that was unfolding, especially in Barak Valley, where I come from, I felt that Congress had lost the capacity to fight the BJP. Although, may I say that we've never had a chief minister or a finance minister from Barak Valley, but we gave 9 out of 15 seats to the Congress party, the Mahajot
Yes.
rather, if you like. But I felt that the alliance harmed our prospects in the Lok Sabha. You're well aware the fact that out of 47 seats of Brahmaputra Valley, Congress party only got 5. That speaks volumes. And the defeat of Congress started not in 2021, right from 2016. So Congress failed to give a narrative, I feel. And it became impossible for me to continue politically in the Barak Valley, despite making my reservations known about the way the last assembly elections was fought. I've maintained I have no grievances against the Congress President Srimati Sonia Gandhi ji, but I felt the 2021 strategy basically harmed my electoral politics, and that's why I went to the Trinamool. I never expected a Rajya Sabha. I know no one believes me, but God is my witness. But I'm happy to be back in Parliament, and I will continue to raise issues of Assam in the Parliament. If you look at my questions that I raised, most of them were connected to Assam. So I have no regrets. I have no regrets. My conscience is clear.
Okay, fair enough. But, you've raised the issue of how, the Congress's fortunes, political fortunes are dwindling. Tell us about Rahul Gandhi's leadership. The popular perception is that the reason why the party's fortunes are sagging at the moment is because of the failed leadership of Rahul Gandhi. Do you agree with that? Was that a factor for your exit, by the way?
See, I'll tell you something. The fact is that the general elections in this country have taken a presidential form. It is Modi versus who? That is one question the Congress party has not been able to answer. They've never projected Rahul ji as the Prime Minister. They've not projected Sonia ji as the Prime Minister. So there's a big vacuum there. So that's where I feel it harms the Congress. And apart from that, you can't say, Congress has won Rajasthan, Congress did win Meghalaya, Congress actually also won Goa, Manipur, Arunachal, but a lot of things happened. There's a long history there. I don't want to get into it. But I believe to say Rahul Gandhi is a failure or a success, it's not my call. And I don't think I should go that far to judge Rahul Gandhi ji. But I do feel there are inherent problems with the party. They need to restructure many things, and they need to realize that the next general election is also going to be in a presidential form. So who's the face? A face that's not just acceptable to the Congress party, a face that is acceptable to the nation, where the nation sees a leader and says, yes, he or she can take on Narendra Modi. Who's that face? Unless we throw up that face in the next general elections, it's a foregone conclusion. And
so who is
that's
that face, Sushmita Dev? Who is that face? If you're saying this is going to be a presidential style elections, 2024 as well, is your party leader ready for that position? Does she have the power and the capacity, the power and the influence to galvanize that kind of support to build a formidable anti-Modi alliance?
See, I'll tell you something. Look back at the history of UPA. When UPA was first formed, it was not a pre-poll alliance. It came into existence after the general election results were out in, I think, 2009. I can't remember the date, but the point I'm trying to make is that they put together UPA to keep a BJP government out, and all parties came together after poll, and then selected their Prime Minister as Dr. Manmohan Singh. So there are enough examples in Indian politics to say that a face emerges. Nobody projected Dr. Manmohan Singh. It happened organically in the circumstances. So Mamata Di, I think, is not a politician in hurry to become the Prime Minister, but I believe she has the capacity and the capability to do it. But I also believe that there has to be a plan. There has to be a plan to defeat Narendra Modi ji and the Bharatiya Janata Party, and she is at least making some effort to galvanize the opposition.
Okay, so the game is on. Basically, you're saying Khela Hobe, 2024, the game is on. Mamata Banerjee is very much on track to take on the challenge. I want to come now to the bills in Parliament that has created a lot of discord among political parties. Now, as a woman leader of this country, the one issue that I want you to comment on is the issue of increasing the permissible age limit for women to get married to 21. Where does the TMC stand on it?
You see, this bill, as you're well aware, any new legislation, and especially something as significant as this, is introduced in the Parliament, we should send it to a standing committee. Now, the reason I believe in this, standing committee is a platform where various interest groups come and talk to parliamentarians. So it is not just at this stage, it is not a question of what TMC wants or what Sushmita Dev per se wants. On the face of it, it's not a bad legislation, but I'm sure there are many angles to it and there are many reservations people will have. It needs a thorough discussion. We must involve the people of India.
Part, Sushmita Dev, do you believe this will empower women or will it impoverish women? Because from my understanding, bulk of the women in this country who move from one household to another because of financial dependence. So the moment you increase the marriageable age, parents sometimes want to sort of get their daughters married off simply for sustenance as well. So if you sort of increase that limit, will it not affect? Because we have seen that bulk of the marriages, in fact, I don't immediately recall the figures, but I'm quite sure it's over 60% of the Indian women who get married is within that age group of 18 to 21.
See, this argument that you're saying, it's a very strong one, I don't deny it, but it works differently in a different sociological situation. Like, it depends what kind of a family you're talking about. But per se, there is, of course, the issue of MMR, etc. One needs to look into it. But in the past, we've seen when the age limit was increased, it did impact child marriage. The situation improved. But I per se feel we need to hear the people out. And I'm saying prima facie is not a bad legislation, but let's hear everybody out. That's what democracy is about.
Okay, that process of building consensus, talking to the stakeholders, and of course coming to a decisive conclusion remains. Again, on the issue of women, again, the issue of sexism in this country, this rampant sexism, isn't it? I mean, look at the comments we are getting from high offices. Congress MLA in Karnataka made that enjoy rape comment. If rape is an inevitable, lie back and enjoy it. The speaker literally guffawed at it. Now, with that kind of a narrative in this country, and then, of course, let's not forget the picture that went viral with women parliamentarians like yourself clicking this picture with Shashi Tharoor, where the caption was about highlighting the attractiveness quotient of parliament because of the women. I don't know whether you sort of commented on it at that time, but isn't this kind of sexism really something that is abhorrent?
I think sexism is a battle which is ongoing, and it happens globally. And I strongly believe that the only way you can change it is by gender sensitization at the formative age of an individual. And I cannot understand that why government after government who spend so much of money and time on planning education do not have gender sensitization in their curriculum. If that happens, children will grow up differently. This change needs to happen right at the formative years of a person. And let me tell you, as a woman parliamentarian, we face it all the time. There is a glass ceiling and we feel it all the time. But what is heartening is there are many examples of women who have broken through that glass ceiling and gone right to the top or the pinnacle of success. So it's an ongoing battle, but I also am a strong believer in the fact that members of parliament and assembly also should have gender sensitization as a part of their orientation before they enter the floor of the parliament or the assembly, because it sends a very bad message to the nation when an MLA or an MP comes across as sexist. It doesn't help the country.
They're the lawmakers, they're the policy makers, and if it is so seeped into the mindset at that level, what hope do we have as citizens, as working women, in this country? And like you said, you as a parliamentarian face it, and you can just imagine what happens to women all across this country. But I do hope you will continue to take up these matters in Parliament. Sushmita Dev, thank you so much for joining us and for answering all our questions so directly and so candidly. Thanks very much.
Thank you.